Good afternoon, everybody. Hello and welcome to another Stampin' Chat live. It's 2 o'clock or near enough. I've set everything up. I'm hoping I've set everything up correctly because I'm still learning with my new equipment. But here we are. I'm just going to look across to my iPad and see if I'm live there. You can never tell until you've checked. So let's see. I don't know what the delay is going to be like today. Oh, and there I am. So it looks like I'm live. So that is good. So the question is there anybody out there? Anybody joining me live today for some crafting? So we're going to be looking at the Blackberry Beauty suite today. I've got some projects to share with you. And we'll get going on that in a little while. But first of all, as always, I would like to know what have you been up to this week. So tell me what you've been doing. What have I been doing? Catching up on lots of bits and pieces. And my face-to-face classes started again this week, which has been a real treat. Something I've been planning for a long time. Was a bit concerned that might not happen at the last minute because you just don't know these days, do you? But they went ahead. And yesterday morning I crafted with some lovely ladies who were all very happy to be back in person crafting together. We had lots and lots of COVID security precautions in place and it was a lovely morning. And tomorrow morning I'm doing another class. So that's very exciting too. I can see Sandy's joined me. Hi Sandy, lovely to have you here. What's it like in Lincolnshire, Sandy? We had a beautiful sunny morning here. It was really warm out and now it's clouding over and looking miserable again. So I'm hoping you've had better weather in Lincolnshire. So yeah, face-to-face classes are back. So if you're local to me, I'm just outside Lymington and you fancy doing some real life crafting, then please get in touch. I put my classes up on this Facebook page so you can have a look there, or you can have a look at my website, which is sallybowman.stampinup.net, and you can see all my upcoming classes there. I'm taking bookings now for anything really, but particularly my October card class, both the in-person and the by post card classes, and also the October fancy fold cards class, which is a bit of a mouthful. Both of those need to be booked by the 17th of September if you would like to do those. Let me know if you want more details, or you can also find more details, as I say, here on my Facebook page or on my website. So Belinda's here. She says hello to everybody. And Sandy says it's overcast but not too cold where she is. Okay. They're saying that the weather's going to warm up. I don't know if it actually is or not. I've got 2 weeks holiday coming up, so that's almost bound to be the kiss of death to the weather, isn't it? Quite often September's lovely, but I don't really know what it's going to do at the moment. So talking about going on holiday, I'm not really going anywhere. I'm being here on holiday, a staycation, very much staying put. I will be doing a Facebook Live this time next Friday, but I won't be doing one the following week, which is I wrote it down, the 17th of September. So no Facebook Live on the 17th of September, but I am only missing one rather than two. I'll send out my newsletter as usual today. So if you're on my newsletter mailing list, you'll get one of those today, but then you won't get one for 2 weeks. But I'm sure you'll cope. If you want to order anything, of course, you can order online. You can join Stamping Up online. You've just got to go to my website, sallybowman.stampinup.net. So it's easy to do all those things online these days. Right, what do I need to tell you? There's a new suite sampler this month, which I'm doing, which is Blackberry Beauty, so that ties in really nicely with what I'm doing today. And I will show you everything in that suite sampler a little bit later after we've done a bit of crafting. Let me just ask you to tell me if the picture is okay, if the sound is okay. I know a lot of people have been having problems with Facebook Lives recently. Facebook have been, as always, I suspect, tinkering. Every time I open up Facebook, it seems they've changed something at the moment, and I don't think it does much good really to anything. So yes, let me know if you've got any problems, but I'm hoping you can see and hear me okay. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera down. This will probably take me a little bit longer than usual because, as I say, I'm still getting used to this new equipment and where I have to put things and what I have to do with all my cables. So I will cover you over. Bear with me while I do that, and I will be back as soon as I can. Okay, so try and make sure I don't collapse everything. And let me find the settings. Now I have to do these new settings differently to how I used to. So let's see if I can remember. I think it's that one. We'll see. We'll see. If everything's round the wrong way and upside down, we'll know that I've remembered wrong, won't we? Okay. Right, I might need to move things a little bit once I can see what you can see. Let's just do something with this long cable. Oh my goodness, that's all up the right way, and this looks pretty much in the right place as well. So that's good. So Belinda's saying the fine, it's fine. The picture, sound is fine. Picture. It's great. She's assessing it one-eyed. Yes, after your cataract operation. Well, that's good. So Sandy's saying picture quality and sound are good, but she was confused because she thought I'd changed my craft room round, but she realised that you're seeing a reversed image. Yes, it's all a bit weird, Sandy. Yes, so something's around a different way, and I can probably tweak that, but I haven't worked out quite how to yet. So given that it doesn't matter if my craft room's round the opposite way, I'm leaving well alone at the moment while I get used to this, and then I will worry about putting everything around the right way another time. But yes, because you've been in my craft room, you know what it should look like. Most people don't. So Mary's here. Hi, Mary. Okay, Sandy says she's weird too. I'm sure you're not, Sandy. Okay, so this is the new, or not so new now, I suppose, but the mini catalogue, the July to December one, and the Blackberry Beauty suite is on pages 44 and 45. So this is the items in the suite here, which I will show you. There's a stamp set and dies. There is gold shimmer vellum. There's the ephemera kit, which is all kinds of bits and pieces, some beautiful gold ribbon, and the totally stunning Blackberry Beauty paper. This really is just so gorgeous. I think it's probably my favourite thing of the whole suite. And there are some really nice samples here as well that you can copy or adjust if you need a little bit of inspiration. So that's that. And let me just pull in my first little box of tricks. I'm hoping I've got everything within arm's reach this time. Last week, I haven't got anything where I needed it. I put things where they used to be, or where I used to need them, I should say, with my old setup. But given that this is a new setup, it's all a little bit different. You can see a lot more, which generally is a good thing. Everything's a little bit smaller, but you can also see more. So I'm hoping that that is working well for you. All right. So let me quickly just show you these stamps. They're red rubber stamps. So they're a cling set. I've got a few of them out. There are a couple of beautiful botanical images. This little bird, which I really, really like. A spatter, always useful. And then lots of really nice words. The words are all a little bit different. I'm here for you. I know this is a difficult day. Those two I know I'm going to use quite a lot. There's this one in this beautiful kind of handwritten font. The changing of the leaves reminds us that new wonders are just around the corner. Nice for autumnal cards, nice for kind of just a general card to send somebody. Really nice for memory keeping or scrapbooking, or a sampler to hang on your wall, something like that, something seasonal. And then some people are just likable. You're one of those people. So that's quite a fun sentiment too. And then the dies, there's a couple that coordinate, or 3 rather, that coordinate with the stamps, and then 5 which are kind of additional dies. So I've always put mine on magnetic sheets, so they don't look quite like this when they arrive. But here we go. So those 3 there coordinate with these 3 images in the stamps. And then you've got 4 little oak leaf dies, and then you've got this really large die which cuts out a whole spray of oak leaves. I'll be showing you that. I'm using it on one of the projects, so you'll see that in a bit. Belinda says the suite is stunning. She hasn't used it enough yet. No, plenty of time, Belinda. I think there is a lot you can do with it, so I'm sure you will be sharing some of your lovely crafting with us very soon once your eyes are fully sorted. So this is the gold shimmer ribbon. I'm just checking. Yeah, it is called shimmer ribbon. It's very metallic, very shiny, certainly shimmery, but it's actually quite soft. Lots of metallic ribbons are quite difficult to work with. They're very stiff. This ties into lovely bows. It's really very easy to work with. It drapes nicely, so it's really beautiful ribbon. In fact, I haven't got much left on my reel. Time for some more. And then the Ephemera Pack. I partly used this one, and I'm not going to take absolutely everything out and show you everything, but I will just pull out a few pieces. So this is all die cut, and you just push it out of the backing paper. There are some coloured images, oak leaves, we've got all sorts of botanicals. You get 2 of everything. There are frames in differing sizes and styles. Then you have some gold foil pieces. Just trying to get hold of these without bending them. There we go. Lots and lots of these. And then there are labels and tags of varying kinds. So there we go. There's just a few of the bits to give you some idea. It says on the packaging that there are 40 pieces in here. I have a feeling I counted them and I managed to get a few more out, but there are lots and lots of pieces anyway. So they coordinate with the designs in the papers and in the stamps, and they just work beautifully. And I think this pack is incredibly good value at, I'm just checking in my catalogue, £5.50. So that really is brilliant. You can get ever such a lot of projects out of this, and it'll work for whatever kind of paper crafting you like to do, whether it's clean and simple cards, fancy cards, memory keeping, scrapbooking, home decor, bookmaking. They're just fantastic. So that's the Ephemera Pack. And I will show you the patterned paper properly in a minute when I show you what you get in the suite sampler. But for now, I'm just going to get on and show you some cards. I've also got an escaped piece here. Let's just pop that in there. Okay. So if you watched my Facebook Live way back when during catalogue launch week, you may have seen these cards. There's just a couple of cards there. Essentially they're exactly the same card. I just changed things up a little bit. On this one I've got some die cut oak leaves from the Shimmer Vellum. On this one I've got some wheat, what's the word I'm looking for? Stalks. Wheat stalks there. And I added some of the matte metallic dots as well, but that's essentially the same card. Very straightforward card. Just some layers of card and paper and a tag on the top. And this one here is it's got a kind of a shorter front to it. This frame here is from the Ephemera Pack. I've cut some of the oak leaves from card and I've used that autumnal sentiment on there. So that's that one. So there's a few that I made earlier that you may have already seen. What I'm going to show you now is something that you haven't seen before. So I'm starting really super simple. This paper is so beautiful that a lot of it you don't really need to do very much with at all. And this paper is a case in point. It's got these beautiful grasses and wildflowers on it with some little touches of gold foil. Let me lift that up and try and show you the foil. Right, you'll have to bear with me while I get this in the right place. I'm still learning where to hold things on this new stand and how to get them in focus. Let me tilt that. I'm hoping you can see the gold foil on that if I can get the light to catch it. And it isn't until my iPad catches up. Ah, there we go. I can see what you can see. So there we are. So very simply on this, I've just got a card base, a piece of paper, a piece of very vanilla card with some words on it, and a couple of those matte metallic, what are they called? Brushed metallic adhesive backed dots. There we go. So let me make one of these. It'll look slightly different because I've cut down the paper from a larger piece, and so the design on the paper is going to be a little bit different to the one I've just made. If you're wanting to craft along with me or even refer to this later, then my card base is Early Espresso card, and it's 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches, and I've scored it at 4 inches. So 4 inches along is my center score line. My patterned paper is 3 5/8 inches across by 5 3/4 inches long. So it's the same length as the card is tall, and all I've done is I've just made sure that I've got a little border either side. So that 3 5/8 inch measurement is not crucial. It just depends how much of the card base you want to show either side. My sentiment strip is the same width across as my patterned paper, 3 5/8, and I just measured my sentiment height and added a little bit, which in this case meant that my strip is 1/2 inch tall. And I'm going to cough, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Talking a lot always makes me cough. And then my insert is 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, and this is very vanilla as well. So if you want a quick and easy card, or if you're crafting with a friend who hasn't done very much crafting, or indeed if you are relatively new to this, then this is very, very simple. Your patterned paper is doing all the hard work for you, and the little bit of stamping is just to give you a sentiment. So I'm just sliding my paper, which this multi-purpose liquid glue allows me to do, so I can make sure my borders either side are even. All right, so that's attached to my card base. Let's do a little bit of stamping. So I have Early Espresso ink here, which is the brown in the paper, so that's going to match. And I've got a Get Well Soon stamp here, and I'm just looking for the stamp box. There we go. So the happy birthday on the first card and the Get Well Soon here, these are both from Timeless Tulips. I was just looking for a sentiment that was quite long that way and not too tall, because that was the look I wanted for this card. So I'll ink that up, and I'm just going to put my card onto a foam mat. Because it's a photopolymer stamp, a clear stamp, there's no cushioning on the stamp itself, so I just want something a little bit soft underneath. And I'm going to just stamp this in the center. You can probably see the top of my head, for which apologies. Let's hope that's straight. Yes. There we are. So that's going to go across here. I'm just checking the width, or the length if you like, of my strip, the long measurement, because I cut these just a little bit long, just so that I can be sure that I can get my sentiment in the middle. So yeah, I'm going to cut a little bit off that edge. There we go. I could do this with my trimmer, but it's so short that I think I can get it straight with my scissors. There we go. I'm going to put this a little bit higher just so I don't hide these two little bits with gold on here. Just have those peeking through. There we go. And then I just need a couple of the dots here. So these are not shown in the catalogue with this suite, but I think they go perfectly. They're not too shiny, and I just really like them on here. So let's pop a large one and a small one. There we are. So I'll set that aside for a minute and just do the insert. So for this, I've got this little flower image from the stamp set, the Beauty of Tomorrow stamp set, and it kind of echoes some of the flowers in the paper. So again, with early espresso ink, I'm just going to, stamp it a couple of times. I thought that was my ink pad there. I very nearly dabbed that dirty stamp onto my card. That would have shown you that this was live, wouldn't it? All right, let's just stick that inside. I'm not going to pop any words on this inside. When I send it to somebody who's poorly, I will just write something. There we are. So that is that card finished. Very quick and easy. There are the two of them, one for a birthday, one get well. You can see that the pattern paper configuration is a little bit different where I've cut it down from a bigger piece, but it doesn't really matter which bit you've got. It's just beautiful. It's so pretty. This paper, I think, is plain enough to make it really suitable for men's cards. You've got a little bit of gold on there, but it's not too in your face. It's quite subtle gold. And I, for one, would certainly send that birthday card to a man. And sometimes that can be tricky to come up with, can't it, designs for men. So I think this paper is great for that. I'm going to clean my stamp before I completely pack away. My stamping scrub here. I always take off the worst of the ink left on the stamp before I clean it off on my scrub. That just helps prolong the amount of use I get out of my scrub before I need to give it a wash. There we are. All right, so that's that one. Let's pull in card number 2. So this time I've used some of the Ephemera Pack. I've done a little bit of an inking technique and a bit of a stamping technique. And I've used some of the really beautiful paper. I do love this owl. I know some people don't like owls. I absolutely love owls. I live in the New Forest, most of you know that, and we are lucky enough to hear owls here, barn owls and tawny owls, and most years we have baby tawny owls in our oak tree, which make an awful lot of noise but are extremely cute. So it's lovely to have an owl to put on a card. So I'm going to make the same card again, but I'm going to use some slightly different colours just so it's not a complete carbon copy. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to ink my card, then I'm going to do some stamping, and then I'm going to add all my paper pieces. There we are. So on this card, my base is Rich Razzleberry, which is one of the colours in the paper. But for the one I'm going to make now, I'm using Blackberry Bliss. And I've got a scrap of the same paper I used on the card I've just shown you. And then I've got a piece of a different paper, just to give you something different to look at. My measurements, if you like those, the card base is 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And I've scored it at 4 inches, so exactly the same. It's just a standard card base. The layer I'm going to do my stamping on is 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, and my insert's the same size as well. And then my paper strips here are 5 1/2 inches, so the same height as the white card, and then they're 1/2 inch wide. You can change that, obviously. Just have a look at what you've got. You might even choose to just use some scraps that you cut off when you were making something else, so they don't have to be 1/2 inch wide at all. All right, so let me put those to the side. Oh, and I haven't, did I say the owl is from the Ephemera Pack? I probably told you that already. All right, so I have a blending brush here. This is the one I use for brown ink. I don't have a separate one for different colours of brown. I just kind of use them, all browns. This is the one I use. And then I've got a clear block here, which I'm just going to use to help blend the ink across the bristles of the brush. My ink is Cinnamon Cider, which again is one of the colours in the suite. So I'm going to pick up some ink on the bristles, and then I just work it on this block, which just evens the ink out across the bristles rather than it perhaps just being in one small area. And then I always just do a little practice piece on here just to make sure that I haven't inadvertently picked up absolutely tons of ink and haven't realised. So that's really very subtle, which is what I want. So I'm now going to use a very light touch. I'm not going to press too hard. And I'm going to work the ink into the card using a circular motion with the brush. I always start off in the air, so I'm moving my hand before I make contact with the paper, and that really helps the ink to blend. And I'm just working up from what's going to be the bottom, just going round and round in a circle, overlapping where I've come from, and then covering a little bit of new as well. So let me lift that up as well, and hopefully you can see that. It's quite subtle. I don't want anything too dark because I'm going to be stamping on this. Okay, I really haven't got the hang of holding things up to the camera with this new setup. You're going to have to bear with me. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. And I also want it darker at the bottom and getting lighter, fading up towards the top. I haven't re-inked this yet because, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to need any more ink than I have on the brush. There. Now let me turn this around the right way. I'm just looking at that. I think I've got a bit of a gap here, so I'm just going to do a little bit more on that edge. There, and I think I'm about there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want some colour on my card. So before I put that brush away, I just rub it on my scratch paper. If you haven't got grid paper in your craft room, please get a pad. It's in the catalogue. It's absolutely fantastic. It's really absorbent, so I can do this and all this spare ink will absorb into the paper, but it won't come off on my projects. And the grid on it means that you can both measure and also position things straight. So it's absolutely brilliant. So that now can go back in the box, and it'll be ready for me to use with any brown next time. All right, so bring in my stamps now. So first of all, I've got this image here, which is from the Beauty of Tomorrow set I showed you. I'm going to keep using Cinnamon Cider ink. And if I just stamp that once, that's really quite intense. If I stamp it off twice, it's a little bit paler. If I stamp it off the third, so the third impression is about what I want. I don't want this too dark, so I'm going to stamp off once, twice, and then onto my project. And I'm going to do a couple more of those across here. So I'm going to stamp off once, twice, angle the stamp a little bit differently, and stamp again. And now I'm just going to repeat stamp a few times just to get some different depths of ink on there. So some of those are lighter, some of them are darker. I'm not concerned too much with this side because that's where I'm going to stick my paper. So that's some sprays in Cinnamon Cider. Next I'm going to bring in this little flower image, and I have Blackberry Bliss ink here, and I'm going to stamp with that next. Now if you've got Blackberry Bliss, you'll know it's a really intense colour, so I'm sure I'm not going to want it straight from the ink pad. So let me just stamp off a few times and see how the colour changes. So I think that one is the one I like. So we'll stamp off once and then stamp here. Because this is the foreground of my card, I'm happy to have it a more intense colour than the brown was. And I'm just adjusting the angle and the height of my stamping. So now I've got some of the dark colour, I'm going to stamp off 3 times, and then the 4th impression I'm going to stamp with, and then I'm just going to keep going a little bit. Okay, so I've gone 1, 2, 3 without re-inking. So let's stamp off once, twice, 3 times, and then I'm going to stamp a little bit higher. 1, 2, 3, and stamp off 4 times. So, you know, I'm not thinking too much about how many times I have or haven't stamped off, but I am making sure that some of these are darker than others. Is that going to catch up with the fur? It doesn't seem to want to focus very close up. Ooh, and that's off anyway. Let's try again. You're very patient with me. There we go. Is that better? Still too close. It doesn't want to focus. It's focusing on everything further away. I'm not quite sure how you sort that out. If anybody is a videoing expert, let me know, because I would like to give you better focus on there than I have. But I'm just going to press on. I might need to Google that. So this is going to go on here like that. But before I do that, I'm going to attach my paper. So I've got my 2 pieces of paper, and the background of this is Blackberry Bliss. The background of this is Cinnamon Cider. So they're going to coordinate nicely with my ink. And I think these are probably going to be just a little bit too long. So that's the first one. And then I'm just going to match this one next to it, just butt it up against it. Like that. And then I can turn it over and just trim off any excess on the back. There we are. Then I'll bring in my owl and decide how I'm going to position that. Somewhere like that, I think, swooping in, looking to see if it can find any little mice. No mice were harmed in the making of this card. There we are. When you're making something a little bit scenic like this, it really does help pull all the different bits and pieces together if you can have them touching. So my owl is touching the stamped area, it's touching the strips of paper. Rather than me just plonking it in the middle here, it seems to just pull all the elements together much better into a more satisfying whole if you're linking them, if they're all touching. So that's my thinking there. I'll bring in my card base, which is Blackberry Bliss. Pop this on top. And then I just need some more of these lovely dots. What are they called? Brushed metallic adhesive backed dots. I wish I could remember that. Yeah, I was wondering about the copper ones, but I think it's got to be gold really. There we are. And then I'll bring in my insert, and I'm just going to add a little bit of stamping to this. I'm going to leave this as a blank card, and then I've got all my options open for sending it. So this is my kind of bundle of grasses again. And then I'm going to bring in those little flowers. In Blackberry Bliss. Just there in the foreground. So let me know if you've got any questions. There we are. I've managed not to get any Blackberry Bliss fingerprints on that card. There's something about that colour of ink, when I use it, I so often get finger marks where I don't want them. So there you are. I'm going to drink some tea and leave you to look at those for a moment. So the same card, same techniques, just slightly changed up some of the colours. But I must admit I'm pleased with that. I've been saving those owls, and I'm glad I chose to use them on this. Okay, I should maybe lift that up a little bit for you to see. Perhaps if I don't bring it up too high, it'll be in focus for you. Okay, I'm going to clean those stamps off. Otherwise, I'm bound to put my elbow on them. Okay, so I'm going to show you the sweet sampler that I'm offering this month. So if you really like what you're seeing of the sweet, but you don't necessarily want to have to buy one of everything, then this might be the answer for you. So each month I pick a sweet and I pull out some elements of the products and just give you partial sets, so you don't have to buy all of everything. So for this one I have got some card. So you've got 5 pieces of card, 5 A4 sheets in colours that coordinate. So there's early espresso, cinnamon cider, polished pink, Blackberry Bliss and rich razzleberry. So 5 sheets of A4 card. A quarter of a pack of the patterned paper, which I will just flip through quickly and show you. It's all got gold foiling on one side, so it's one of our specialty papers. Let's push that out the way actually, so you're not getting too distracted. This one's got the owls on it. This has got, oops, a little bird, and the bird die does cut out some of these birds. This is the same image I've just been stamping on the paper. This one is beautiful. And tree branches. This is the one I made the first card with, so you can see that you can cut it here and then you can use both sides of the panel. Just lovely. It's like a sort of a mirror image, one of the other. And on the back there, this is thistles in beautiful shades of purple. Then we've got oak leaves here, lots of gold on this side, and some little berries here as well. And flowers. So that's a quarter of a pack of the paper. Then you get a quarter of a pack of shimmer vellum, which equates to a piece 6 inches by 12 inches. And I'll see if I can get the light to catch that, just so you can see the shimmer on that. It's really pretty. You'll get a whole pack of Blackberry Beauty ephemera. So this is a brand new pack. And you'll get 2 meters of the gold ribbon. So there you go, 5 pieces of A4 card, a quarter pack of patterned paper, a quarter pack of shimmer vellum, a whole ephemera pack, and 2 meters of gold shimmer ribbon. So you can just let me know that you would like that, and I will organise it for you. The cost of it is catalogue price, and I round it up to the nearest pound. So it's £14 if you can collect it from me. It's £16 if you'd like me to post it to you. And you have until September the 24th to order and pay for that. Then I'll place the orders and I will get them out to you by the same time the following month. That allows plenty of time just in case parcels get stuck in customs or anything else. Because sadly, as we have learnt since Brexit, shipping takes longer. And that's without the pandemic. So, so that is the Blackberry Beauty Sweet Sampler. Just let me know if you'd like one. Okay, let me put that down. All right, so I've made 2 cards. Let's make another card. So you've seen a card that was just patterned paper with very minimal stamping and a couple of embellishments. You've seen a card that had a bit of patterned paper, a piece from the Ephemera Pack, and some inky technique. Now I'll do one where I've kind of thrown everything at it, really. It's got lots of bells and whistles. So here we go. I've used some of that shimmer vellum here, which I've die cut. There's a tag here from the Ephemera Pack. There's a bit of the patterned paper here and here, and some of the ribbon, and I've used more of those gold dots because I love them. So there we go. And that was just a tiny snippet that I'd cut off and I didn't want to put in the bin, so I've added that to the insert. So the measurements for this, the same size of card base, 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored at 4 inches. My strip of paper here is 2 inches wide by 5 3/4 inches. My insert is my standard shape of insert, 5.5 by 3 3/4 inches. This little piece here, looking at it, it's about 1/8 of an inch wide, and then it's 5.5 inches tall, but that was literally a scrap piece. I didn't really measure that. The piece for the tag, I'll show you in a minute how I worked out the size of that. All right, so I'm going to make a version of that, something slightly different, just because it's nice to show you a couple of variations. Find all my bits and pieces. All right, so my card base here was Blackberry Bliss. So I've got a rich raspberry card base for a little change. That's my insert piece. Then I have some patterned paper, but I've cut it slightly shorter this time. So instead of going the full length, it's just going like that with a little border all around it. And this paper is 2 inches by 5.5 inches, so a little bit shorter. And then I have my die cut oak leaves here, but I've cut them down just a little bit just to give me a different shape. If I put that one next to it, you can see that I've cut a little piece out of here, and you can actually do this with the whole thing. You can cut lots of different smaller sprigs from the die cut. And then I shall do something similar with the tag, and I'll come to that in a minute. So I'm also going to do a little bit of stamping on my card base. So I've got rich raspberry ink, which is the same colour as the card base. And I have this stamp, which is the one that talks about the changing of leaves. So I'm just going to stamp across my card base so that it shows around the paper. It's not necessarily going to be something that is easy to read. And in fact, I think I'm going to stamp it this way just to make it a little bit harder to read. Because the point of it is really to add some texture rather than to be something that you can read perfectly. I've smudged that, but fortunately, there we go, that's not going to matter, but I'll try and be a bit more careful with this one. I moved it just as I put the stamp down. There we are. So now I'll glue down my patterned paper. I hate hiding those owls and all that lovely gold on the back, but needs must. There we are. So fortunately that smudge here is underneath the paper, so I've got away with that one. Then I'm going to put glue on my vellum. Now with vellum you have to be a little bit careful gluing it because the glue can often show through. So a trick that I like to use is to pull in a silicone craft mat. This is very dusty, I don't know where this has been. I've got a baby wipe here. It's just damp, I was using it earlier. Let's use it to pick up that dust. Probably because I had the window open and the wind's been blowing here. It's blown a lot of dust in from outside. There we are, that's better. All right, so this is shimmery on one side and plain on the other, so I'm going to make sure that I've got it right side down, and then I'm going to squeeze out some of my liquid glue onto the silicone mat, and I'm going to bring in just a little wedge of sponge. These sponges used to be in the catalogue, they're not anymore because they've given us the blending brushes instead, and I love the blending brushes, but I have got a bit of sponge left. But you can just use a sponge makeup wedge, anything like that, any old bit of sponge. And I'm just going to pick up some of the glue, kind of dab it to help it distribute across the sponge, and then I'm just going to pounce it onto my vellum die cut. So I'm going straight down and straight up. Okay, don't pause too long, otherwise the sponge will start to stick to the vellum. But what this does is it applies a very thin, very even layer of glue over the vellum. The vellum wants to curl a little bit because it is so thin, but we'll fight that. But just work fairly quickly because that will just minimize the curling and also stop your sponge sticking to the glue. And the cleanup from this is very easy. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to let that glue dry on the mat, then cleaning it up is straightforward. Okay, and which way around do I want it? I actually want it this way around. Right, I'm going to press that down properly in a sec, but I am just going to bring in a baby wipe and clean my fingers. Right, get the glue off my fingers, and then my fingers will hopefully not stick to the vellum. There we are. I can now press that vellum down. I can't see the glue showing through from the back, and I've got a lovely even coating of the glue, so all those leaves are sticking down beautifully. So anytime you're using vellum, you can use that trick of applying a glue with a sponge. Now I've got a few little bits where the leaves are poking over the edge, so I'm just going to trim those off, because the chances are they will just get folded up when it goes into an envelope and they won't look pretty. Sometimes I do leave things dangling over the edge deliberately, but I don't think it's going to help in this situation. You can see that those words now are mostly covered up, that they've just added a little bit of texture and interest to my card base. All right, so here's my tag. This is from the Ephemera Pack, and I have a piece of the patterned paper that's got the oak leaves on it. Doesn't matter which way up it goes, I think I'll use it this way. So all I did was I laid my tag on the paper. I could have measured it and just measured it out instead, but I just had an odd scrap of paper, so this is how I actually did it. And I thought I need about that much bigger either side, and I need about that much longer for the paper compared with the tag. So can you see if I put that down there? So it's, let's have a look. My tag measures it's a little bit more than 1 3/8 inches wide, and my paper is 1 3/4 inches wide. So it's a little bit wider, and my tag in length is 2.5 inches, and my paper is 3 inches. But I actually did it by eye. I laid it on a scrap of paper and added a little bit to the width and a little bit to the length. So I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm just going to cut the diagonal. So I'm going to make this paper effectively into a tag. So I'm just going to copy those diagonals, so the angle of the pieces I'm taking off on the top of my new tag will match the angle of the ones from the Ephemera Pack, just so they look the same. I'm not going to bother punching a hole in this because I'm going to put a ribbon over it, a bow, so it's not going to show, so I won't have to worry about that. But now I can lay those two like that, and that's my embellishment for the front. Before I stick anything on, I'm just going to stamp this. I'm actually using a happy birthday from Pansy Patch. I decided I would just go with conventional greeting. I used the thank you on the card I've shown you, and this one I'm going to use happy birthday. And I'm going to go with Blackberry Bliss Ink, because that's nice and dark. And somewhere I've got my stamping mat. There we go, I've buried it. And this just fits on here. There we are. I've also somehow got completely covered in Blackberry Bliss. Honestly, I just don't know how I do it, but this ink, I always get covered in it. Is anybody else like that with Blackberry Bliss, or is it just me? Blackberry Bliss and Cherry Cobbler, if I use those, I can guarantee I'll get covered in them. I'm not too messy a stamper generally, but I don't know, something about those two inks. Right. If I don't get that off my hands, it's going to transfer everywhere. All right. I also find Blackberry Bliss just needs a minute or two longer to dry than most other colours. Most of our things are an instant dry, but I always give Blackberry Bliss just a little bit longer. I'm quite cautious. So I'm now just going to glue this onto the tag. So I don't need glue completely across the back of this tag. I'll just do about 2/3 of it. So let's just offset it a little bit like that. And then I can pick that up as one element and glue it to my card. There we are. So now I'm bringing in my ribbon and I'm just going to tie a bow in the air. So when I'm doing this, I never tie a knot first, but other than that, I tie it just as if I was tying a shoelace. So that how I would do that is I make a bow, I make a loop, wrap the ribbon round the loop and over my thumb, and then I push the remaining ribbon through the loop. Some people make 2 bunny ears and that's fine as well, but I'm not very good with a bunny ears bow. And then let's just make that a little bit smaller. There we are. It does tie a beautiful bow, this ribbon. It really holds its shape nicely. And I always use mini glue dots to hold ribbon on. They're an instant grab and they're really, really strong. And if you use wet glue, you have the likelihood that it's going to soak through the ribbon, but glue dots will never do that. There we are. So that is the bow. And I think just to make it look a little bit different, I'm not going to use the little adhesive metallic dots on this. I'll just leave the front like that, but what I will do is make the insert. So I'm going to stamp happy birthday on it again in Blackberry Bliss, checking I haven't got yet more ink on my hands, which I think I've managed to avoid. Try and stamp the word straight. There we are. Oh, look at that. Honestly, worse than when my kids were small. Okay, right, where was I? And I've got another little scrap of patterned paper here. This is about 1/2 inch wide, which I'm just going to glue on the bottom. But once again, this was just a little scrap I had from trimming the paper for something else. So I quite like to use them up. If it's a big scrap, I'll cover my envelope flap. And if it's a little scrap, I can usually find it a home on a card insert. That's a little bit I trimmed off. There we go. And I'm just going to turn my grid paper over because it is so inky now. It's probably distracting you from what I'm trying to show you. There we are. So there's that card. There's the one I made earlier. Haven't got my glue right to the edges on this one. So that is 2 versions of a card using the stamps and dies and the paper and the vellum and the ephemera pack and the ribbon. So there we go. You can make these using the sweet sampler that I'm making up with your own stamps and dies. Okay, now I promised to show you how quick and easy cleanup was when you've used the silicone mat and glue. So here it is. The glue has now pretty much dried. It's gone clear, and it's a rubber-based glue, if you didn't know, so it just rolls off the mat. So you just rub your finger over it and all that glue will just rub off. Very, very easy. And it'll leave your mat good as new for next time. There. So let me just get rid of that sponge. I've got a little box I keep those in so they don't stick to everything. And let's just brush the mat in the bin, which you can't see, but it's just under my desk. There we go. So if you haven't got a silicone mat, they're fabulous. They're heat proof and they are brilliant for all kinds of techniques, and they're very good for gluing. So let me bring back the cards that I have made. So 3 cards today, going up in complexity from pretty simple to not difficult but much more time consuming. So just 3 ideas with the Blackberry Beauty suite. It's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous for this time of year as we're going into the autumn. The colours are warm and rich. There are leaves and seed heads and grasses, and I just think it's perfect. It's so beautiful. If you haven't had a really good look at it or you haven't played with it, then I encourage you to have a little think, because I'm sure you won't be disappointed. It's beautiful. It's lovely for all kinds of projects. Great for men and women, and actually most children would like things like the owl and some of the other imagery in there. It is lovely. So that's my projects for today. Now let me just take my camera back up and tell you about next time and say goodbye. So let me cover over what you can see, just so you don't feel sick as I move it all. Change the settings again. I think that's what I need to change. And I have no idea if I've got the angle right so you can see me, but let's just try, shall we? Okay, not too bad. Let me hodge along a little bit. About there, I think. Okay. So it's a bit high, isn't it? But never mind. We'll live with that. I'm only going to say goodbye to you. So thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I don't know what you're going to be planning, but whatever you're doing, I hope you have fun. So I will be here next week, same time next week. And what I'll be doing next Friday is looking at some of the Celebration goodies again, because can you believe that we are more than halfway through Celebration? There's just a few weeks left. Certainly when I get back from my holiday, there'll only be about 10 days of Celebration left. So I'm going to come back next week and hopefully inspire you with using some of the things that you can get for free when you place an order. So get ready for that. Let me know if you'd like to order the Blackberry Beauty suite. You have until the 24th of the month to order one of those. And it is £14, I believe. Let me just check my numbers. £14 if you can collect it, £16 if you'd like me to post it to you. I'm booking now for my October card classes, both the standard card class and the by post class, also for the October fancy folds class. So if you're interested in any of those, let me know. I can give you more details, or you can find the information on my website or on this Facebook page under the events. So I think I've told you everything I need to tell you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Have a good time this weekend. Bye bye.